scares me to this day, man. Hair color pink. Psychopaths. Every last one of them. This video, guys, is to be a warning, right? Always be afraid of a girl with pink hair. In an anime, a pink-haired girl is always a psychopathic yandere. Like, always. I think it's just fascinating how it's like every author in the manga and anime industry, and also video game too, all comes through and said, okay, let's all agree on this thing, right? If we make a pink-haired girl, she's gonna be effing crazy. It is this huge amount of examples, right? Zerotwo is probably the most popular one, right? It's like a sexy yandere way. People want to get abused by Zerotwo, right? But obviously it all starts with Yuno being kind of the mother, the queen of the yandere, right? But you can find examples though before Yuno that is showing like the pink-haired girls always super evil. But definitely after Miraniki, every goddamn pink-haired girl ever is a complete sociopath, psychopath, and a murderous yandere. Well, hello everyone, Mono here. Of course, time to talk about freaking pink-haired girls, right? Or rather so, the yandere psychopath, right? Because they're always psychopaths, they're always yandere. They're always crazy, right? Never date, never talk to a pink-haired girl. If you, I mean in reality too, right? But especially if you're living in a manga anime world, always avoid the pink-haired girl, but it's always gonna backstab you eventually, right? Or, you know, tie you up and force you to, you know, yeah. That being said, of course, some yanderes, right, can be blonde, right? For example, like Toga in My Academia, right? Don't have to necessarily be pink hair to be a yandere, but it's kind of typical logical example. You know, every yandere is not pink haired, but every pink haired is a yandere. That's kind of the logic of it, right? And again, as I mentioned, I think it's fascinating, honestly fascinating, that it's like every manga gaka, everyone has agreed on this thing. They're like, if I make a pink-haired girl, but guys, oh, she's gonna be a goddamn sociopath, right? It's like everyone agreed on it. And there's so many hundreds of examples. That's just some of my favorite ones. Like for example, Momoka, okay? This is an anime no one has seen, survival game club. But Momoka, man, Jesus Christ, this woman is pure evil. She's like the literal definition of evil. Like, she's so... This is not a great example, because I don't even know what the anime is. I just googled, like, pink girl... I just googled pink girl anime hair, and this image appeared immediately. I was like, I don't even know who it is, but she's clearly like a psychopath. So there's some aspect, right? I do find it obviously hilarious, because especially Nana then, right? I did a reaction with Talentless Nana, and that's the perfect example, I feel, right? When you watch Nana, you're like... Oh, there's no way she's a good person. Like, without having read the manga, I'm like, whoa, that Nana girl? Oh, she's gonna murder him at the cliff, right? Spoilers. But it only isn't like you can't spoil that anymore. Because if I see a pink-haired girl, I'm like, oh, she's probably hiding her psychopathic tendencies, right? They always kind of start out like this, right? They always kind of like, oh, I'm so kawaii, I'm just a little pink-haired girl. That's always how they start, right? That's how they start the first episode. Or maybe even not the whole episode, but the first 10 minutes. And then you talk to them and so on, and then you see, and bam, then they murder you, right? Yeah, and then they kill you. That's how every goddamn anime. It starts with this, oh, I'm just nice. And then it's like, oh, I will kill you when you sleep, right? Oh, yeah, okay, great. And honestly, I mean, I love the yandere. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun genre with, you know, crazy pink-haired girls. Zerotwo, again, is kind of the most sexy appeal on it, right? You know, like super thirsty, but still kind of murderous. You know, remember she killed all the guys before the main character, you know. But it's definitely a trope, right? How almost all of them pretend to be, you know, kind of kawaii, kind of, you know, hot or whatever, right? To the beginning, and then immediately when you betray them, they will backstab you, or they will force you, or so on, right? But honestly, though, there is some truth to it, right? Because a typical psychopath is seen as charming, you know, surface value charming, right? So I think it makes sense to the author writes them as, you know, charming and appealing at first glance. And then also Psychopath is very good what is called cold revenge, right? So you have revenge, and one thing the psychopaths are actually very, very different from normal humans is that a normal human may commit what's called a crime of passion, right? Like, for example, you walk in and see your spouse cheating on you, so you kill them, right? You know, that's like a crime of passion. And a psychopath never do it. A real psychopath basically have almost perfect impulse control rate. This is actually a really good point of, like, a real type psychopath, yeah. They have incredibly good impulse control. They don't do crime, you know, in, like, heat of passion then. So they're actually, like, less, you know, so to speak. So the chance of a psychopath actually doing, like, kind of random crime or whatever, yeah, it's very, very low. But, however, though, right, they're very good because it's kind of how they work, right? They're very good at planning their murder, right? So seriously, yeah, like Salt here, she's a perfect example of psychopath, right? Because she's very, very like manipulative, yeah. Very, very charming, very, you know, oh yeah, thank you, man, I will help you, all you boys, yeah. And then when she goes home, she's like, has to imprison the little kid at home, right? Murders some guy in the apartment, and this is all this crazy kids, spoiled all the video, like, murders everyone against her, right? But she's very, very, again, manipulative, right? Like, she won't just kill her friend when she has the chance. She's like, oh, I'm gonna kill her when no one can see it, right? At this place, at this location, right? So that's a very, very, very psychopathic behavior, which is like, I'm gonna wait, right? I'm gonna wait until the perfect moment. I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna plan it out. I'm gonna murder her. So it's very, very cold revenge, right? They had 20 years to plan out my murder thing. Don't be fooled, guys. Like freaking every pink-haired girl is a Yandere. So Perona One Piece, you know, she's obsessed with the bear, right? She kidnaps Zoro to force him to be her obsessive Yandere. And even more so, Sakura. Holy shit, man. I mean, everyone loves Sakura, but honestly, she's a goddamn Yandere. And I think people haven't been talking about this too much, but I mean, I'm not being facetious here. I genuinely mean it, you know. Like, Sakura is a Yandere, right? Because her whole life thing is like, oh, Sasuke-kun, right? And obviously I think she's a terrible written character. And he has a better female character and so on. Let's comment section. Who's the best girl? We all know that the real best girl is freaking Tsunade, man. We all know that Tsunade is the best waifu. Let's all be honest here, man. And the Temari is the only like reasonable of those characters. Temari is the only good wife in the whole anime. Actually, I think Shoji's wife is pretty hot too, though. Yeah, she's a cool wife too in Boruto. No, but seriously, like, Sakura as a person is incredibly Yandere, actually. You rarely hear people complain that she's just... So people all the time have hated Sakura, right, for years. But you rarely hear them say that she's Yandere. But she actually is, right? Because, again, what's her life goal? She's just like, oh, Sasuke, Naruto help me with Sasuke, you know. And it's really, really... That's one reason why she's so disliked, right? Because when Sasuke tries to kill her, and Naruto saves her, like, oh, Naruto, he doesn't kill me. And Naruto at that moment, right, still being alive with Sakura, is like, yeah, he doesn't kill you again, Sakura. Maybe you can do me instead. Maybe we can date instead. She's like, nah, Sasuke. And you're like, yeah, okay. I mean, honestly, she is dislikable, right? Because she's so obsessively in love with Sasuke. No matter what he does, right? And she also gives him or whatever. It doesn't matter, right? And of course, and a normal woman in a normal situation would have stopped being in love with Sasuke years ago, right? And probably fall in love with Naruto instead, like all those hentais. But you know, I mean, it makes much more sense, right? The Hengakas are right, definitely. No, but it really makes sense, and she is truly a Yandere. She's just, you know, less... You can argue that, well, she doesn't like kill... She actually does kill people, right? She kills all the ninjas to get Sasuke back. Yeah, she's like it's much more... It's a shonen manga, but she is a goddamn Yandere, man. The only thing she lacks is basically just she fights with her fists instead of like a knife or whatever. Right? But seriously, she's one of the actually most iconic Yanderes. And people are probably gonna say, no, I'm wrong, but am I actually wrong? Isn't she more like a functional Yandere? You heard people talk about functional alcoholic, right? Isn't Sakura a functional Yandere? Like, she's intelligent enough to learn to heal and fight and so on, right? But isn't her whole life goal just to get with one man and force this one man to be with her, even though he hates her, even though he doesn't care about her, and her whole goal is to force Sasuke to be her husband, basically? Isn't that her whole life goal? That is super Yandere, man. And we have new episodes. This keeps being a thing, right? Shikamori, new anime, new Yandere chick, right? Forcing this guy. So it's like every author is like, well, I'm gonna make like this obsessive, controlling girlfriend. I give her pink hair. You can see it in like every shonen anime ever, right? Like all the time, man. The pink-haired girl is an obsessive character trait, definitely. And I mean seriously, right? Every pink-haired girl you should be afraid of. They always have that psychopathic sneak, right? And actually, CHIKA is a psychopath too, right? Isn't she? Where everyone, I suppose, is somewhat manipulative. Ishigami probably the least in Kaguya-sama. And the rest of them are very manipulative, yeah. But CHIKA, you know, what makes her very psychopathic, seriously, the most of them, is that yes, she's manipulative as one. She lies, and she has like no, you know, morals or no ethics, right? Yeah, seriously, she has no willing. But CHIKA's behavior is mostly very psychopathic traits, and I mean this seriously, because she loves to use mess with people, right? Where Kaguya and Shirogane, guys, sure, right, they have this goal of like, how can I seduce the person I'm in love with? And their manipulative behavior is like, how can I get with the person I like, right? And Ishigami is mostly not very manipulative, but a little bit, you know, when he's in love with someone, right? It's like a clear goal. But Chika is just like a chaotic evil person. She's like, it's gonna be fun to play this game, guys. Yeah. Oh, I cheated. Yeah, you know. And obviously it's very funny. But Chika again is actually a functional psychopath, right? Because she takes all her time and effort to mess with people because she's hilarious. So Chika is seriously very, very psychopathic. She's actually probably one of the most popular psychopaths in anime, right? And again, I really mean it. She's a psychopath because that trait of just enjoying to mess with people is psychopathic, right? The trait of being that person that goes to like a party and is like, oh, I'm just gonna like trigger people. I'm gonna go in here and say like, hey, did Dad sleep with your girlfriend last week? I heard something about that. Hey man, this thing over there. And oh, you see that's just over there? Yeah, that kind of person that just goes to like a party or whatever, and you just like, try to mess with everyone, right? You try to piss off everyone, so you get sort of fight or something, and then you sit on the side and be like, look at that, yeah. That's like a real life psychopath, right? And that is seriously what she does all the time. Her whole goal is to mess with them and be like, oh, it's gonna be hilarious, right? Yeah. So she is, quite the evil character thinking about it now. In a comedy, right? It's played for laughs, but isn't Chika actually super dangerous? You know, if she was a real life person, she actually probably would be hated. But I think that Chika perfectly, honestly, exemplifies Psychopath because she's very charming and very attractive, of course, as a woman with big tits right now. But seriously, it's a woman with charming behavior, right? So Chika is probably a perfect psychopath that she would have, 5-6 people that would really hate her. They'd be like, oh no, that woman betrayed me. She's a complete nutcase. You'd be afraid of her, right? But everyone else would be like, what are you talking about? She's awesome. She's so fun and attractive and hot, yeah. It's like everyone else would just love her. But I think that she would be hated by everyone. She would have this few people that like, oh, I know the real her. She's dangerous, right? And the rest would be like, what are you talking about? She's the loveliest girl ever. That's kind of what real life Chika would have been, right? Yeah. Kind of like honestly how Ishigami is. He's like, oh no, not Fujiwara senpai. She's all that something. And also how he is with Kaguya. He's like, he's kind of like they're both insane people. I need to be afraid of them, right? But everyone else loves her, right? And of course, we're talking about real life people too, right? Always be afraid of the pink-haired girl. For example, last year I went back to my home country and I met my cousin, and he had a new girlfriend. And, we talked about some anime, and I said to her, this anime is pretty fun. And we got up to this conversation about Unigasai mostly, right? So I said to her, pink-haired girls, man, they're all psychopaths, man, they're dangerous. And she was like, oh yeah, I used to have pink hair last year, and I might have, done this thing with I might have stabbed someone, or, And I was like, pink hair girl, always true. And she was obviously not joking. It was clearly a literal thing. So always avoid the pink haired girls, guys. Anyway, this is right, and have a great day.